Let's talk to one of our favorite people, full stop, Linus Ullmark, Ottawa Senators goaltender. Hey, Linus.
Hey guys, how have you been?
Amazing. We're just going to blush this whole interview because we talk about how good a guy you are more than we talk about you as a player, but you're just the absolute best. So we're glad to have you on, especially during a time when a bunch of change has been going on. Is there like a relief that has set in, or are you still feeling like there's a million moving parts in your life?
It's definitely still a lot of moving parts, but I think that I am in a very good spot when it comes to the preparations for the move. I have a good team that supports me when it comes to that sort of thing, and also the Sens have been very good when it comes to helping me with all the questions that I've had. And there's always going to be more questions when you're moving to a different country. Obviously, I've never been in Canada except for when we play games here. So living in Canada is also going to be a little bit different, but a lot of people say that Canada is like a bigger Sweden, so I'm looking forward to it.
Is that? I've never heard that
I've
before.
never heard
That
that
is.
either.
I will tell you what, though. I was in Edmonton for the Cup final, and they got the thing that you got going on where it's 10 o'clock at night and it's light out. I thought that there was some sort of like global warming thing going on, and they were like, no, if you are up north, it's light out. It's incredible. Go Sweden.
Oh yeah, it's great. I play golf now before midsummer, and I came home like 11:30 p.m. and it was still bright outside, so it was great. I love those
Damn.
things.
That's awesome. Is your heart broken just like mine?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the personal side of it all, yes. When it comes to sports, my career and things like that, I'm very much looking forward to the new opportunity that I get to have in Ottawa. But once you've experienced all the love and the friendship that you have in that I got to have in Boston, obviously, if I didn't feel any sort of sadness or not anger, but not anxiety either, but just the worst part. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed my stay in Boston. So now, when I actually do have these feelings inside of me, once I got traded, I'm like, okay, yeah, this just goes to show how loved and how much we enjoyed being a Boston Bruin and living in Boston.
There was definitely an understanding with last year's Bruins team, or I guess this year's Bruins team, that more changes were coming. How did you get through that, knowing that like there's a good chance that you would possibly be one of those changes?
Um, well, I'm older and wiser now, so that made it easier. But I also think that being, up on the trade block during the season helped me prepare mentally for, okay, this is the real deal. This might happen. So once the season was done and I had the time to sit down and kind of digest it all, then it felt like, okay, there's a bigger chance that I'm not a Boston Bruin in the beginning of training camp than it is. So, no, having that in the back of my mind and realizing, okay, this is the God honest truth. Yes, then you can start preparing yourself a bit mentally about it and not being, being woken up in the middle of the night, don't know exactly what happening. So that just was my mental approach to it all.
I know the answer is like that you're a professional athlete, but like, how do you not partially check out during that? Like, I just think of in the first round against Toronto, where you were just still like locked in, still an incredible teammate, and yeah, part of that is that Jeremy's your guy, but like for somebody who was in a kind of like stuck in the middle sort of situation, you seemed, at least from the outside, like you were handling it well.
Yeah, no, it was a tough time in that sort of way, and I've said it to multiple other media personalities as well that it's one of the hardest things in professional hockey to being a goaltender and being a backup during a playoff run, especially when you've had the um, the tandem situation that we had throughout the season when you're sharing duties and then you stop doing it. So you just want the very best for your partner, but at the same time, you want to be the guy. So you have to always differentiate and put your own pride aside and think about what's the most important thing at this time. And for me, that was a team. That was a team success. It didn't matter what I felt in my heart or in my soul. I could deal with those things off the ice. That's why I have a family, and that's why I can, talk to them, and I can talk to my other uh, people that I feel very secure and that I can let my heart out, and then deal with those emotions when it's not game time. So once actually game times comes around, I can put all my effort in being a great teammate, being a supportive teammate that tries to build a lot of energy, and being, a vocal guy, which I've never really been in my career, but I really try to put myself out there to be more vocal and help out the fellas now when I wasn't playing. And it took a little while for me to get used to it, but it felt better and better the longer we went. And also the fellas in the room did have a lot of good things to say about that, and they gave me some tips and some pointers of like what was good to say or what not.
Just out of curiosity, what was easier, being in season with the trade stuff around you or off season? Because during the off season, it's not really like necessarily like a routine that can distract you, and you can kind of just push through it, I would assume. So I'm just curious about that side from your end.
Off season was easier.
Okay.
A lot easier. But also comes down to that this was during the season was my first time being on the trade block, so I didn't know what to do with all my emotions and how to handle it. Even though that I spoke, openly, there was just so many things and so many uncertainties that I just couldn't control. And you just want to have like a clear-cut answer. Like once you've seen the rumors and people have asked you all the questions, you're basically saying to yourself, like, just give me an answer. Am I going to stay or am I going to leave? Just hit me with the truth now, and just either get on with it or just tell me that I'm staying. So living in that unknown was tough. And then you're looking at the schedule, and I remember because I saw it and I realized, okay, this is probably my last game of the season as a Boston Bruin if I get traded right before deadline. So the feelings and the emotions that I felt during those times as well was tough, because I wanted to win and I wanted to be, leave as a winner from the Boston Bruins. So when I played, I don't know which game it was. I think it was the overtime loss against Edmonton. That was my final game that I played before the trading deadline was actually set. And I just remembered how utterly sad I was in my home afterwards when I realized that, fuck, sorry, my anguish, but I was just devastated that I didn't get to win my final game as a Bruin. But then again, I had the opportunity to stay throughout the season and get to be in the playoffs, so I was very happy at that point. And then it felt like, sunshine and rainbows once again when the trading deadline was over.
Fucking Draisaitl, man. He gets everybody. That must have been a real pain. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct us if we're wrong. They did come to you at some point during the season and did say that they had a trade, but what were the conversations like, and what was the communication like from the Bruins throughout all of that? Because you don't seem like a guy who's going to like harbor much animosity or be much of a tough customer, but also we're talking about your life.
Yeah, there's more things to it. And you know what? It's easy to give people shit for having, their no trade list in a certain way, or they have certain teams on it and whatever. People don't know which teams we have on there. And every player has their own reasoning for it. So for me, whenever people would give me crap about, not going there or not going there, I'm like, okay, buddy, you have no idea what I'm dealing with on a personal level, at home, and with what values I stand by and what is most important to me. So it's how should I say it? It's easier now at this point, obviously, when I got traded to Ottawa, because they weren't even on my list. I don't even have to deal with all the questions about why didn't you waive your no trade to this team or this one, but you waived it for Ottawa, that sort of thing. So I feel like, okay, this was a nice transition in, and it's going to be a good one getting to play in Ottawa.
So a no trade clause, I think that people often overlook, is a benefit, and it's a perk, and it's something that's negotiated into a contract. And generally, the give and take there is the term and the AAV is different if there is or there isn't one. If you could do it all over again, you sign for, I believe, 4 and 20. If you could have signed and gotten paid more money and not had that no trade clause, would you have gone back and changed anything, or did you like having the no trade clause? Did that give you some element of control and peace of mind?
No, I wouldn't go back in time and change it. Not at all. Not a thing. I stand by my choices, and I stand by what we came up with, and I'm very happy we did that, because, like you said, it is a privilege, and it's something that players before me have worked really hard to achieve together with the league and the PA, and it's none's business, like I said before, but what's on there and which teams. So that's for me, my agent, my family to decide. And like I said before, the reasoning why some teams are on there, some not, there's just my own, and I'm never going to share why. But I think a lot of people in my, how should I say it, in my position would appreciate a no move clause than taking more money. I think that's just how I am. Obviously, I think that stability and a sense of easiness to okay, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here for a while. There's no stress, and we can build. Take our time to build something great, and don't worry about leaving next year is a safety on its own.
And I don't know if this was ever confirmed, and if you don't feel comfortable answering, of course. But did you exercise yours?
Well, not what I know of. I didn't have to take a stand to anything during the summer, at least. And I had conversations with my agent, and I told him, okay, he asked me about the list, and I said, yeah, I'm stand by the list. I like it. It's something that you and I came to agree upon, that this is the best one for us. And at that point, I didn't have to, there wasn't any hard discussions or negotiations or anything like that, which I would say I'm grateful for, because I think that would have been hard to say no to this team and say no to that team and whatever, and then you can feel like, okay, they just want to get rid of me, that sort of thing.
What have some of the conversations been like post trade, both from the Boston end and the Ottawa end?
It's been okay. So if you go from the Ottawa side, I feel a lot of love, a lot of excitement, a lot of joy coming out from the Canadian side of the border, which I'm very glad for, because I feel the same way, that this is a great opportunity to do something great with a young and exciting team. And then on the other hand, it's been emotional in the sense of that there's been a lot of people that has reached out and thanking me for my services being a Bruin and how I was as a person, and it speaks. I take a lot of pride in that, I would say, because when I left Buffalo, there was basically none. So now when I'm leaving Boston,
We're sitting. Our producer Sean right here is shaking his head. He missed you quite a lot.
oh yeah, there was the real ones that gave obviously sometimes when it comes to social media, I don't have it open at all times. So I can say there was definitely people that were saying that they were sad that they would see me go, but the sheer volume of people that has reached out at this point has been tremendous, and I've read almost everything, and I really I feel how should I say it, overjoyed and happy and proud of how I've handled myself as a person in the Bruins organization and my time in Boston, so that people actually feel not the need, but they're taking the time of their day to send these sweet messages, and it really, warms my heart to read. And so I would, for whoever that seeing this interview, I do thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
How long did it take for you to write that Instagram post? It would have taken me like 5 months and a million different therapy sessions and just crying because it was great, and you articulated your feelings for Boston very well.
I am a lot better of articulating myself through writing than I am speaking. I feel that most of the times when I'm speaking, I lose my train of thought because I go one direction and then I come this direction, and then all of a sudden, what am I talking about? I've done it now during this interview as well.
It's very relatable.
I was going to
honestly.
say, we've been there.
Relatable coming from somebody who has a podcast is bad news for us.
Yeah, so you know how it is. So once I started writing, I understand as well that when it comes to social media, there's only so many things that you can write that people will read, and try to keep it crisp and short, but also, given something that's interesting to read at all times. That's why I listed things in my career, at least in Boston, that I found was my favorite moments, or at least some of my favorite moments. There's others that is for a whole different conversation, but from as a team standpoint and all that, and once I started listing these things in my head, and I started realizing, these are none of my achievements. These are more only the team's achievements. And I got to thank, the organization and the team and my teammates for that, because that's how I genuinely feel that these moments were so fun to be a part of, that they overshadow all my own personal achievements.
My favorite Linus Ullmark story, and it's a very selfish story, was I was in the North End watching the Buffalo Bills with some friends, and you came into the restaurant and you said, "Hey, I'm early to meet some friends, and I've got about 15 minutes to kill." And you sat down, you watched some Buffalo Bills football with us. I know you're a fan, of course. And in 15 minutes, your friends arrived, and your friends were Jeremy Swayman and his two parents. And it was like, in a way, it was predictable, but it was just the most beautiful thing in the world that, like, of course, that is your evening. And you were so happy when they walked in. And in the time that you were waiting for your friends to arrive, we talked a little about him being an all-star. And you were just so happy. You were so proud. You'd obviously been an all-star the year before. And like, I don't think I've tried to bring this up in like TV hits and any sort of media stuff. I'm like, I don't think people actually understand the Swayman Ullmark thing, because there are teammates that are buddies and there are teammates that are best friends. And it's like the kind of work husband, work wife, work brother kind of thing. But what you two have is like really, really special. Did that change at all this year? Or like, were there ever any bittersweet moments where you're like, these are kind of the good old days, they'll end at some point, but like, let's make them count?
No, I did not feel any sort of those feelings, because in my mind, at least, if I start worrying about the future, and regret the past, I'll forget the present, that sort of thing. So deep, by the way. I've seen that quote before,
Nice.
and I'm so happy I nailed it there. Yeah, nice.
That's incredible, though.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's a great quote. It is, because it really goes to show how I want to live my life. And for people that has kids, one thing that I relate a lot to as well is Hakuna Matata. It means no worries.
It literally, it truly does. It do mean no worries, as the kids say.
Yeah. So that's the thing. No cap, as the young fellas would say.
No one in the same answer has said Hakuna Matata and no cap before. Also, the great quote from your last appearance with us was when you were talking about your various playlists, and you said, "I have one called Nothing for Pussies." The takeaway from this one is Hakuna Matata, no cap, as the kids say. But like, so like, how are you and Jeremy now? Like, well, I dare I ask what the conversation was like after the move went down?
A lot of tears. I remember I gave him the call as soon as I talked to the GMs and my agent. I called him right away, and I was shaking. I was literally shaking and trying to get the words to come out in a sense of that I'm in control without crying or so and making it hard, because obviously it's when you're calling someone, it's you want to be understand, or you want them to understand you, and sobbing at that point, it's going to be hard because English is my second language. But it was a feeling of emptiness as well, in a sense of, okay, this is it, this is the end of what we've built throughout these 3 years. But afterwards, once I've hugged my wife and let all the feelings kind of subside like a wave that's coming crashing against the beach, that it's an end of one thing, but it's a start to another, which is also a beautiful thing in itself. And I know that, and this is actually something that I quote Sway from, is that he said it doesn't matter if we're 2 miles apart or if we are 20,000 miles apart, we're still going to be brothers for life. And that really speaks volumes to me and my family. And he's always going to be Uncle Sway to the kids. He's always going to be, in my mind, my little brother. And my wife will always adore him, for the person that he is, and feel that he is, Uncle Sway or whatever in her life as well.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I know it's probably hard to forecast, but like, what do you envision that relationship being like? Not only like this year, but years down the road for you guys, because obviously there's a special bond there.
Yeah, no, I'm still gonna bring him cinnamon buns for my games against him. So I'll keep him well fed for the fika buns, and then hopefully they're spread out in a way that I can give him different ones at different times. But it really feels that it is for forever, in a way of that how we are as people and as persons, that it doesn't matter that, yeah, we might drift apart, but there's always going to be a connection that will pull us together again. And if that is in 10 years or 15 or 50 years, it doesn't matter. I know that I can always look back at this point as one of the best moments or times in my life. And I have this wonderful person that came with this decision to move to Boston.
You said that you're not bringing hugs to Ottawa. Good luck to Jeremy if he keeps it going in Boston. He will lose a lot of fans. But like, what's that going to be like being in a new tandem?
I don't know if you guys knew, but I was a tandem with Anton back in juniors and our start of our professional career. So I've known Anton all my life almost, because he's 1 year older. So he was always the guy that I looked up to, and the guy that I was always chasing and wanted to be in his shoes and being, the guy to outperform him. So it's cool in a way that we now get to experience being a tandem in the National Hockey League, and look back at, okay, yeah, 10 years ago once we started our professional careers overseas, this was us and this is us now. So it's pretty cool to look back at it.
But don't you worry that you've played too well? You've won too many Vezinas that now you go from, and this isn't a shot at Anton, of course, but like your workload, I imagine, will increase from what it was in Boston, where like last year it was virtually a 50-50 split. This now you have Ottawa trading for a Vezina winner who's still in his prime. Are you ready to perhaps play more maybe than you ever have?
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of games during my years in the minors, so I know how tough it can be. I mean, at that point as well, we played 3-3, so the workload in itself it is taxing in some ways, but it's easier in other ways, where the mental part of it is probably the easier ones, where you're just going per automatic. You're doing everything that you've always done. You don't have to think about it. There's no fine tuning that needs to know. Don't need to, as I try to explain to a lot of people, is that you don't have to rev up the engine every game. You're just keeping it in fourth gear and just cruise along, and you keep playing your game. And then when you need to rev it up, you do, and when you have to, gear shift down, you do that. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I'm 31 years old now, and feel that this is a perfect opportunity to play a lot of games, because I've built up this, all my experiences that I can utilize into my game and know how to be successful, and also play a lot more games without feeling that it's too taxing. And in that way, that's why I say it's easier to play more games, because it's everything that you go through happens automatically, instead of you having to always rev up the engine when you're sitting off the side a couple of games here and there.
How much are you, you seem like a pretty competitive person. How much are you relishing the opportunity to go to a place where last year was a bit disappointing for them and they could use somebody of your caliber, and you're going to be playing more games presumably, and looking for that next contract. So there's a lot of opportunity in front of you.
Yeah, but what an opportunity it is. It's so, this is what we strive for. To, at least in my mind, there's always going to be the way that you always want to win, but there's also things along the way, for me at least, that is that I want to get to a place, and once I leave, it's a better place, that sort of thing. And that's why I'm grateful for my time in Boston, because I felt personally, I came in and I left as a better person, as a better human being, but also as a better goaltender. And I'm hoping, looking back at it, that people felt that, okay, once he left, the differences between from when he started his career in Boston to his final year, things got better, and our culture and other things got better as well.
You say that you got better over the course of your time in Boston. Granted, we only met you like kind of late in your time in Boston, and you were perfect at that point anyway. But what was it about Boston?
Still are you, my friend?
Oh man, it's stuff like that.
I mean, you shared your favorite Linus Ullmark story earlier.
Yeah.
Mine was when we first met in Nashville. It was right after you won the Vezina. You came up to me and you said, "Buddy, I love you," but that came after you said, you seem taller on Twitter. And like, that was basically my favorite interaction. But like legitimately, genuinely, I'll speak for all Bruins fans. We fucking love you, and very, very thankful for your time here. And I know like all of us are heartbroken that this happened. And so genuinely, I do feel like you're leaving this place better. And we're all like lucky to have gotten to watch you play, and for some of us to get to know you.
Thanks, guys. That really means a lot to me. It really does. And you know what? I might just throw it out there on loop now, because it's not just obviously about me. What I think is cool when you're speaking about, stories, is that you don't know everything about a person. So I got to give you credit, Pete, for going, public with your mental stuff. That is immensely strong. Is incredibly. I would say I wouldn't say as a parent, but I would say as a friend, that doing so and going publicly on Twitter, which, to be fair, people are jerks. People don't have any feelings on Twitter, and I will never call it X. That was great. That is awesome that you go out there and say those things, because there's a lot of people in this world that needs to hear that. And I try to advocate that as well, about mental health awareness, and especially for men. And I know how much I feel better
speaking about my emotions and how I feel at all times. And my wife has helped me a lot with that, together with therapists that I've talked to through my career. And I really do feel like a lot of people in this life needs to speak to a therapist. I think that there comes a lot more good things than bad things. So thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you doing that.
I appreciate you too, buddy. I love you. Seriously, you're the best.
Thanks, guys. I love you too.
Thanks. Thanks for being so awesome to Pete, so awesome to us, for putting up with us. We obviously love talking to you, and it's been a pleasure watching you. I'll tell you what, we have a lot of jerseys on our set. Ottawa Senators, one of the few teams we don't have. Would you recommend any players that we get? I kid. We get a Linus Ullmark.
I also,
Buddy, you gotta go full on sweet on that one. Daniel Efferson, what a guy, what a person, what a personality. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. But if we're gonna go for someone other than me, primary Colson, sick. Sneaky one, Jason Spezza.
Oh, legend. Yeah. So good. What about Ridley Gregg? He took a slap shot into an empty net and everyone got real mad at him. That was super cool.
Yeah, most of the things there, that was, I think it was the Leafs, right?
It sure was. Yeah, Morgan Riley got suspended. It was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was a whole different situation. Yeah, I don't know really. I don't want to comment anything on that one because I wasn't there.
Before we let you go, last thing, I'm a jersey guy and a gear guy. We talked about it before this past season. I need you to let me know when it happens. I know you're settling and getting everything ready, but when you get your gear for the Sens, I need to see it.
Reveal.
Please send me the gear because you fucking kill the gear game. So let me know.
Drop the pad
routine. I'm getting more and more boring when it comes to those things. I said that to the other guys that I was on the show, and I have to do a little bit more digging, a little bit more see what about the history about the Ottawa Senators and look at the other goalies. And I'm probably gonna stick with my design that I have right now, but be making more Ottawa, obviously. But then, I don't know. Do you guys have any ever thought about designing a goalie mask? This is your time to shine because there needs to be one. There needs to be at least two, but I'm taking one for myself.
I think Lalim in Ottawa had like the Martian. Just jack that. He's been retired long enough. No one's going to remember that.
I would say put a dog on a flaming Zamboni somewhere on your mask. Because that's our logo, and that is a cool ass logo.
You ever consider?
I'm not a stranger to that one because I've had my corgis on there now, but now I only have one. So if I put Bob on a Zamboni that's on fire with a little bit of a Senator's hat or a helmet, I can work.
We can talk to our guy who designed this, and it would be great for business. I'll tell you, last time you were on with us, you mentioned, or you were wearing a hat that said "blah," and
people loved that shit.
That interview blew up, and all the comments were like, "Hell yeah, Linus has good taste in music," and we were like, "The questions were nice though." No, we were just all about that.
So respect.
It's the
we
small
appreciate you not
things.
wearing that hat to dominate this interview and have that be the only takeaway this time around.
Yeah, I should have had something else and just put it right here in front of it, and just so you don't have to see my face.
Amazing.
All right, dude, thanks so much. Really, really appreciate you hopping on with us. Again, we love you, and we'll continue to love you.
Best of luck in Ottawa, man.
Thanks, guys. Really, like I said, I really appreciate you having me on here. I have been freaked out by the swear in the background there when the emojis have been coming on from time to time. Oh. It is what it is. It's pretty cool. But like I said, I really appreciate what you guys do. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys rock, and I'll see you down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
We all silly like the mayor.